Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's call the meeting to order of the Westfield Redevelopment Commission for our last meeting of 2024. David, take the roll, please.
Joe Plankis,
Here.
John Dart,
Here.
Brian Michael,
Here.
Larry Kemper,
Here.
Brian Pulowski.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you. If everyone will please stand, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, first item on the agenda. There's no changes to the agenda. First one is approval of minutes. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding the minutes from November 18th? Seeing none, I have a motion for approval.
Motion to approve the minutes from the last RDC meeting.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Which
Out
one?
here. It's me.
Larry, okay. Thank you. Motion by John Dart, second by Larry Kemper. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. David?
Joe Plankis,
Aye.
John Dart,
Aye.
Brian Michael,
Aye.
Larry Kemper,
Aye.
Brian Pulowski.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the executive session memorandum. We have any questions or comments on that? Seeing none, look for a motion for approval.
Motion to approve the executive session memorandum from November 18th of 2024.
Okay, and I'll second that motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. David?
Joe Plankis,
Aye.
John Dart,
Aye.
Brian Michael,
Aye.
Larry Kemper,
Aye.
Brian Pulowski.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the clerk treasurer's reports. Marla, are you there?
The clerk treasurer is unable to join us this evening.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions in regards to the statements that she provided? I think they're nice format. We're making progress. She's got a little catch-up here to do for 2024, so we'll just carry this over, I think, for the financials until January. You okay with that, Janelle?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, let's carry that over. We'll move on to the next topic, which is approval of claims. Any questions or comments on the claims? The one question I had, and I don't think anyone here can answer it, is are our vendors pretty much up to date on submitting their claims to the best of your knowledge, Janelle?
To the best of my knowledge, they are. We did have a couple of claims that came in shortly after the deadline for this docket, and those will show up in 2025.
Okay.
So is there an encumbrance process with the RDC like there is with the city expenses?
There is not. The RDC funds, the capital fund, the general fund, which we don't spend out of. The capital fund we do, the general fund we do not, and all the TIF allocation areas all roll for next year, so there's no encumbrance process for RDC funds.
So, okay, so what does that actually mean then if an expense from a vendor contractor comes in between now and the end of the year, it just rolls over into 2024, but it comes, or excuse me, 2025, but it comes out of the 2024 budget?
No, the budget, whatever is remaining in our 2024 budget, those dollars roll directly into 2025. There's no encumbrance required.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, I'm open for approval, for a motion for approval of claims.
I'll make a motion to approve claims.
Okay, Brian Michael made a motion for approval. Do I have a
Second.
Second?
Yep,
John
second.
Dart, thank you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Brian? David, rather?
Joe Plankis,
Aye.
John Dart,
Aye.
Brian Michael,
Aye.
Larry Kemper,
Aye.
Brian Pulowski.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Ratification of Grand Park agreements. Good evening, Mr. Trinian, Mr. Pickleball King.
Good evening, Commission members. Matt Trini on behalf of Grant Park. Before you this evening are 21 agreements up for ratification. Did send these out a little over a week ago without any comment or question before tonight's meeting, but happy to take any if you have any at this point.
You had a couple sizable ones there between the pickleball and Indy 11 for next year, so there's a lot going on.
That's
Good
right.
to see that.
Business moves on.
Yeah.
I got a couple of questions for you. What happens if I get hurt on your pickleball courts?
Yeah, so the event owner kind of takes that insurance
play,
liability, but we have plenty of first aid nearby, Mr. Dart, and love to help you out if you get run into that scenario.
No, it was, I played this morning on the courts, and we just talked about it. Great setup, and gosh, I'd like to see more of that during the year, maybe on a quarterly basis. It's just fun, especially as fast as pickleball has grown, and I wish you guys all the best on that.
Thank you.
Regarding the ratification, what caught my attention this month, maybe I hadn't seen it in prior months, but you've got agreements with Brownsburg High School, New Palestine, Westfield, and Cathedral utilizing the facility for football practices. What's driving them to come to Grand Park versus their own facilities?
Yeah, typically that last week in November is state championship week, and we preemptively send out a communication to everyone that meets the state semifinals and send them out a notice, hey, as you prepare for your state championship game, we're a location that you can prepare for an indoor facility. Typically, the closer communities do reach out, and so that's where the majority of those teams came through. In full transparency, Westfield does get a better rate than those other high schools, but we did have several high schools utilize the space ahead of the state championship game this past year.
So these are kind of the powerhouses that anticipate that they're going to go to semifinals or the state championship, right?
So we typically don't get them to under contract until week of, right? We wait till they qualify for the state championship game, and then they go under contract. That said, this has been something that has happened essentially since we opened in 2016 with the indoor facilities.
So they kind of reserve the space but aren't committed to paying Grand Park until something with their school actually happens. Is that a better way to say that, or?
I would better qualify it as we have the typically that time of year, because they're using it during a portion of the year where schools, our indoor facilities are underutilized. We have the space available. We make them aware of the availability, and they don't go under contract until the week of, when they know it's a certainty. So there's nothing under contract or no reservation until they actually make the state championship game.
Yeah, thank you.
Next year, can you make sure Brownsburg doesn't have time? Appreciate that, too.
I can get into some conversations that happened pre and post Brownsburg's practices, but that said, it was a pleasure to have several high schools utilize the space, and I had the pleasure of being with Westfield on Thanksgiving Day, see them prepare before their final game, and I think everyone here knows this, but Westfield has some special things going for them, and to witness that firsthand on Thanksgiving morning was certainly a special thing.
That's cool, Matt. Very good. Appreciate that. Okay, if there are no other questions.
Mr. President, could I have Matt answer just a couple questions for me
Oh,
before
okay.
you all vote? There was a big vote last week. GPSE, the public-private partnership between the city and Grand Park Sports and Entertainment for the operations of the park, and we have contracts for ratification. Can you talk a little bit so everyone understands what the process is moving forward as you become an employee of Grand Park Sports and Entertainment and the operations are changing? Because that will be a change in process for us here.
Yeah, so this dates back to when the MOU a year ago was signed with Grand Park Sports and Entertainment. All contracts moving forward had a signature, an initialer from the GPSE leadership team. So their leadership has seen all of these contracts before we executed. Now that was when we were going through the process of potentially March, potentially April, potentially September, and so on and so forth. That said, we strategically had not signed any long-term agreements to allow GPSE to put their mark on the campus when it came to incoming activity. That said, our teams have been working collaboratively on many of these events and future events. I think one of the things that you pointed out with pickleball, we're really looking at the event center as a whole and how can we best utilize that space, not only to fill the space, but to have the density in the space that's important to continue to carry that facility to higher pieces. But all that said, our team will be transitioning from the city of Westfield to the Grand Park Sports Entertainment arm, and we'll be managing all these agreements through their execution. And then I think, again, as we move forward, you'll see different events come through, and we'll work through that process. But all that said, I do not anticipate us coming to before you to ratify agreements, as the contracts will be signed by Grand Park Sports Entertainment. What I do anticipate is there will be some level of reporting back to you guys, and I think we can work through that frequency and what that looks like as we move forward. But all that said, the nice thing is you have the whole staff moving from existing city staff to Grand Park Sports Entertainment, so you have that continuity of what has worked and what we want to take forward under the new private management.
Does it make sense to have a quarterly review on Grand Park for the RDC?
I think that's at your discretion.
Quarterly works for me.
We've done that in the past. We've typically done quarterly reviews. If that's something that you guys would request, I'm certain that we can make that work.
Yeah.
I know in the contract, there's metrics that they're responsible for achieving over a period of time. I think the report probably should include those if in fact it's timely and it's within that time frame, that's one of the metrics that's being measured. I know some are going to be a little bit further down the road, but we certainly, I think, would appreciate having that kind of an update and see how you guys are doing and see how GPSE is doing in general.
Certainly.
Now, if I understand it correctly, Matt, basically January 1, you all switch from the city payroll to GPSE.
I believe it'll actually take place before January 1.
Okay.
But all that said, that is the start date of the agreement, yes.
Okay.
We're working through that transitionary period with both HR teams now.
Right.
As to how that will, and several other layers to how that full transition will take
Yeah,
place.
because there's perf and there's different things that you guys are eligible for now that you won't be eligible for because they'll have a different benefits plan, I'm sure.
That's right.
So, anything else, Janelle, for Matt?
No, that's all.
Hello.
Thank you.
Okay. Brian, anything? All right. Are there any other questions for Matt before we ask for a motion? Okay. Seeing none, I'm open for a motion for approval of the Grand Park agreements for the last time.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, Brian Michael has made a motion. Second.
Second the motion to approve the ratification of the Grand Park contracts.
John Dart, we have a motion and a second. David, please take the roll.
Joe Blankus,
Aye.
John Dart,
Aye.
Brian Michael, Larry Kemper,
Aye.
Brian Pulaski.
Aye.
Okay, very good.
Thank you all. I
You've done a
appreciate
great job,
it.
Matt. We appreciate the efforts on the part of the city of Westfield, and I know you guys will keep up the good work with the new agreement with GPSE.
Absolutely.
Thank
It's
you
been
very
a pleasure
much.
working with all of you under this umbrella, and I'm sure we'll have more to grow on. in
We'll
the
have a
future.
lot of discussions along the way, Matthew. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, Executive Director report. Janelle?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a bit of a different format today because we're wrapping up year one with my position here as the Executive Director of the RDC and with many of my staff members joining me this year. And I thought maybe it would be helpful to do a recap of what we've accomplished in 2024. So starting back in January, we worked to get all of our various commissions and different organizations onboarded and created. We started with creating a new Downtown Westfield Community Development Corporation and onboarded all of the members of the RDC, the Redevelopment Authority, the Economic Development Corporation, and the Downtown Westfield CDC with help from Wallach Summers and Haas, Barnes and Thornburg, and Bondry. We have also gone through an effort at a departmental level of building and launching a Microsoft Dynamics CRM to help document all of the leads that we have coming in, both for our economic development processes and for our RDC projects. I brought in 4 new staff members this year. David Brock came in February, office manager and project manager. Claire Jelinek came in April as Business Attraction and Retention Specialist. Rachel joined in August as a Redevelopment Manager, and then Lauren Wall as an Economic Development Specialist in September. So we are, just now, just about 1 quarter in of having our entire staff on board, and starting to get to, normal operations. The onboarding is kind of beyond us. So now working on processes and improving those. We've engaged a number of consultants in 2024. This list here is actually engagements that we have within the RDC, as well as my Economic Development Department, which is run through a separate budget than what the RDC approves. But I think it's important to see how much support we have from consultants, from specialists in specific areas. A couple highlights here. As you know, Hunden has been doing economic studies for us in and around Grand Park. They've been really helpful in us understanding what the market demand is around the city. You're going to see a contract here shortly from Gang to help us with some art consulting. We also have Rundell Ernstberger helping us with design planning for the Park Street improvements. This is an upgrade to the street infrastructure in front of all the restaurants along Park Street, and that's a collaboration with the Park Department and with Public Works. And then, of course, Spec Dempsey, who's been helping us with the Grand Park Master Plan with the assistance of Perkins and Will. Of course, our most often seen advisors are Wallach, Summerson, Haas, and Bondry, who are here for every meeting to provide our legal support and our municipal advisory support. We've been focusing on key regions of the city. Hunden Studies helped provide information about Grand Park and entertainment updates that we can be providing to create a better tourism and I would say even residential experience in and around Grand Park. We are currently reviewing a draft of a hotel market study that was completed by Hunden. We hope to have that ready for release in early 2025. And they're also helping us do a due diligence study for an ICE facility. Downtown, we are working on redevelopment plans in cooperation with Community Development Department. These primarily are, I would say the studies that we're doing are primarily led by Community Development. Caleb Ernest is helping as our long-range planner for planning of the other 3 quadrants of downtown, if you will. And we are working on the execution of the Park and Poplar, Jersey Street, Grand Millennium, and Park Street projects in the southwest quadrant of downtown. Union Square, not listed here as a study area, but of course is under construction and should be open in mid-2025. Grand Park Master Planning, 95% complete. I will be bringing that plan to you for presentation in January. I'll be presenting it to City Council at the January 13th meeting. We're also working on trail-oriented developments, specifically some planning for the Newbie area. This is surrounding the city services and Simon Moon Park. If you remember back early on in the year, we executed a contract with Spec Dempsey to do this study. We had some delays because the tree survey took an eternity, and then we got really more focused on Grand Park to make sure that we were meeting our timelines for that development, that master plan. So we are now restarting that process with Parks and Public Works and Community Development all engaged to provide input. Redevelopment projects. We've completed a bond approval for Town Run. We have approved a project agreement for Ambrose on Main, and we are in term sheet negotiations for a handful of projects in downtown and in the Grand Park area. We've cleaned up EDAs and allocation areas for Grand Junction a few times, East Side a few times. As you all know, we did find some adjustments we had to make specifically because Wheeler Landing had some parcels that were going to be combined, and as that happened, we had to make sure they were all in one allocation area. But Grand Junction, East Side, 146th Street, which is over at Town Run, Wheeler Landing, Aurora, which is the North Point area, and South Park. Business attraction, I think this number of 125 RFPs is at least a month old. I probably need a new number from Claire, but we do receive a number of RFPs from the state and from outside sources such as site consultants. We've submitted almost 60 responses to RFPs. We're working on a joint proposal for a project called TWC, which is a code name. And then we have a number of grants that have been received. Hamilton County Tourism provided grants for Grand Park Master Plan, which included the Spec Dempsey study, as well as Hunden providing some additional consulting on that master plan, as well as the original Hunden study that was completed in early 2024. And we received a grant from the Ready program from IEDC for Park and Poplar. We have also granted some money to Isotopia. This was a promise that was made under the previous administration, which was approved earlier in 2024, and then a grant for Portal Diabetes, who is relocating from California. We've approved abatements through City Council for Isotopia, Portal Diabetes, and Farnham, all within our industrial areas of the city. Financial updates. We've created the RDC General and Capital Funds. That was an effort that took, it was like all hands on for months, it felt like, but this really has given us that capacity to spend money more diligently from the appropriate source within the RDC rather than spending TIF dollars on our legal and financial expenses. We're paying them out of appropriated capital funds. We finally approved the 2024 budget. We refunded the Grand Park bonds and reassigned a lease. We executed a pilot agreement with Dar Albert, which is a nonprofit that had moved into the old ICE facility over in there in South Park. And we approved the first ever RDC spending plan. This is a new requirement from DLGF that was approved last month and last week finalized through the City Council approval, which was also approved earlier in the year, the GPSE, Grand Park Sports and Entertainment Operations of Grand Park. Land closings. We purchased Woodwind Golf Course. We purchased Park and Poplar land. There was a first closing that happened earlier in this year. The second closing was scheduled for today, but is being delayed slightly. And then Jersey Street, we've purchased 7 parcels for redevelopment on that block. We sold 2 parcels, including 202 Penn Street and a parcel for H Steakhouse for redevelopment. And these were all, 202 Penn Street was sold to an existing business that is a tenant, and H Steakhouse, of course, will be part of a redevelopment project to bring a steakhouse to Mill Street. We have been doing research and getting educated here. We took a Hamilton County trip to Houston earlier in the year, which was sponsored by Hamilton County Tourism. Handful of us took a walkability class from Harvard. We've attended ULI spring and fall meetings. We recently took a trip with Hunden to Dallas to study sports entertainment districts to help inform some of the business types and uses that will be attractive for the Grand Park area. We've had representative at the AIM conference as well as the IEDA conference, and then we've actually provided some continuing education opportunities to others, specifically through Urban Plan, which was organized through Urban Land Institute locally. We had a large group of Westfield staff, commissioners and counselors all attend this one-day mock simulation of a development RFP, and then Claire has started her MBA program. International attraction, we're starting to develop some strategies for attracting international businesses and to be more welcoming of our guests and residents of Westfield who come from other parts of the world. We're starting an engagement with the International Center, which is located in Indianapolis, and they will help advise us on being more, again, welcoming and help provide strategies on attracting businesses from throughout the world, and then also considering the opportunity to start a Sister Cities program, which could help collaborate with other communities and help educate us and develop those partnerships. Well, we're in 2025 going to be doing a housing study. One of the areas of interest that we have that we're diving into with International Center is understanding better what other cultures look for in housing. And as the demographics change here, and particularly with the investments that are happening in Kokomo, we think that it's important that we understand whether there are some missing housing types here and how we can provide that where there's a gap. We're also looking at collaboration with events. We've heard recent announcements of the Live Golf event as well as FIFA. How do we create a better experience for those international travelers that are going to be visiting us during those events? We're also updating our marketing. Claire has been working on some strategies for updating the economic development website, which we should be launching sometime in 2025. We started creating more standardized pitch decks for attraction companies and updating our demographics for Grand Park. So, as you all know, it's been a really busy year. It really was helpful to go back and look through our calendar and see what kind of work we've been accomplishing throughout the year, and I am very grateful for all the support that all of you have provided for us to be able to deliver on all of these accomplishments this year.
So I just want you to do one thing, Janelle. Take a
Breathe.
breath. You guys
There's-
have been really busy. That's been awesome. Love to see all that activity.
Thank you.
All positive stuff. Okay, we have no old business. New business, we have a number of items. Action item number 1 is our 2025 RDC schedule of meetings. Janelle?
Yes, thank you very much. Before you, you have the schedule that we've outlined for 2025 RDC meetings. These would all be held here at City Hall, typically on the third Monday. There are a few exceptions. January and February happen to fall on the dates of Martin Luther King and President's Day, so those have been pushed to a Tuesday. They're highlighted here in red. And then January of 2026 also shows up on the schedule, so that one's shown in red too, just pre-planning for those. We would intend, if there are any redevelopment authority meetings, to also hold those on the same date as we have done in 2024. Happy to answer any questions you have about the schedule, and we'll, of course, get these noticed appropriately.
Any questions for Janelle on the schedule?
Executive sessions?
Our intent is that we would do executive sessions at the same time that we've been doing them this year, which is 5:15 prior to the meetings, as long as they're necessary and we have something to discuss at executive session.
Is it helpful to have like a footnote listing that to aid in the notification process, Ryan?
I don't know whether we need to do that or just.
That's I believe in the past, the staff has submitted or posted like a general executive session summary that is the proposal, that is the process, if there is to be something to be discussed, so that there's like a one-page letter notice for all of the meetings.
Right.
So, whether that gets approved here as part of this or is a separate sheet in January.
Just looking for simplification if possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Could they propose that we approve this with that note added?
Sure, of course.
Okay.
Okay.
If you're open to that, we'd be happy to add that
Great.
information to
That
the
would be
schedule.
wonderful. Okay, look for a motion. Maybe, John, you would like to make that one?
So motion to approve this 2025 schedule of meetings with the documentation around the executive sessions included.
Okay, great. Do I have a second?
Second that.
Second, Brian Michael, thank you. David?
Joe
take the roll,
Plankes.
please.
Joe Plankes,
Aye.
John Dart,
Aye.
Brian Michael, Larry Kemper, Brian Pulaski.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Next item is gang agreement of services. Janelle?
Thank you, Mr. President. This proposal here is from a local Indianapolis organization called Gang Gang. It was founded just a couple of years ago by a husband and wife team, Molly and Alan Bacon, and they are leaders in the art community, specifically for the Black population, and we have engaged them, with your approval, to advise on some art that would be installed in our downtown to support the history of the Underground Railroad. We felt like it was very important that if we were going to bring that type of artwork to the community, that we have advice from people who are passionate about it personally. Over the last couple of years, they've been helping local and well, with local art procurement, I think that they bring in local artists as well as national and international artists who are typically Black artists, and they will do a lot of study about the culture and the history of Westfield and the Underground Railroad and bring that story into the art exhibits that they recommend for Westfield. They will also be helping to procure the art and then oversee the installation of the art. Our intent is that this would be at a plaza that would be planned at the southeast corner of Poplar Street and State Road 32. And you will note that their contract is fairly long, and that's just because the schedule for developing that particular block is going to take a couple of years. We wanted to make sure that we were covered for the duration of that engagement, that we weren't getting additional services just because the schedule extended. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about Gang Gang or about this process. Really, really excited to have this opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
Yeah, I got a bunch.
Yeah, go ahead.
You want to go?
Yeah, so I just had one on phase 3 where I get the fabrication installation. Does that include the cost of the art too then within that?
This does not include the cost of the art. We will not know what the art costs until we've selected art and, finalized our budget for the art itself and know what it's going to cost to install it.
Question, Brian, thank you.
So is the art an RDC expense then?
The art will be part of a development project, and we have not finalized with the developer what the source of those dollars will be. It could be paid for out of park impact fees, it could be paid for by the developer, or it could be some public works improvement.
That was one of my questions, is I believe, I'm not going to mention the developer, but I believe one developer has done some artwork in another city, and I think it was a collaboration between the developer and the city to get this done, and it was great work that was commissioned, but
Yes.
so that's a TBD, that's to be determined.
That
right?
is to be determined.
Okay, so the other question is, the artwork is, you're saying at State Road 32 in Poplar, is that the roundabout?
This would be not in the roundabout, but it would be at the southeast corner of that intersection. So
Okay.
it would be a plaza that exists at the southeast corner of that intersection.
Okay. It mentions that there's a concept presentation for the city of Westfield work group. So is there a task force or a work group that's going to be selected to say what makes sense for Westfield, what's approved, and where's the ultimate final approval go to? To say
So-
this is a concept that we're going to go out for bid with
Yep.
with an artist.
Yep, that is a great question. I don't know entirely who that working group is going to be today, but I do know that Chris McConnell has been, Director of Parks, has been tasked with overseeing artwork in general for the city, so he will definitely be on that committee. He has a list that he's been developing to review artwork. I don't know who all is on his list, but he will be in charge of determining who, with the mayor's support, coming up with that list of people who will be approving the artwork.
So would, I think you said the folks from Gang Gang, it's a black couple that understands or has history with the underground, or what's their association, or why did we select this group? And then,
Because-
and then the second part of that question would be, are we going to look for artists that also have some type of connection there?
Yes, they specialize in procuring artwork that honors Black culture
Yep.
and creating experiences for Black artists that are equitable, making sure that they are being recognized and that they are being engaged in the community in a meaningful way, and that they're being paid appropriately. They also have great interest in making sure that the stories are being told in an appropriate way and will be well received and respected by the community.
Thank you.
Okay, good questions. Any other questions for Janelle? If not, we're open for a motion for approval of the agreement of services for Gang Gang.
Motion to approve the proposal for the agreement with Gang Gang for services rendered in 2025 and 26.
Okay, I will second that motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. David?
Joe Plankus,
Aye?
John Dart,
Aye.
Brian Michael,
Aye.
Larry Kemper, Brian Pulowski.
Aye.
Okay, next item is the 2025 Wallach Summers and Haas engagement letter. Janelle?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a proposal for continuation of services by Wallach Summers and Haas, who has been our outside counsel during 2024 for a majority of our work that we've completed within the Redevelopment Commission. Ryan Wilmering here with us tonight and Adam Collins have been our primary support throughout 2024. They have brought on some additional support and legal staff here in 2025. The work that they have done for our organization has been just amazingly supportive of all of our efforts. The level of expertise that they have, their understanding of the political environment, the financial environment, and the legal restrictions and opportunities that we have to be successful for Redevelopment Commission, in my mind, are unparalleled. We have additional counsel that has been supporting us on specific other legal matters. For example, Barnes and Thornburg, I do expect that we'll have an engagement letter that we bring to you in January to continue their services. You know, they're our primary counsel for bond work. And of course, we've had Taft involved primarily in all of our Grand Park agreements, including the PPA. Their support of us has been extraordinary, and I would really love for you guys to continue the support of their engagement for 2025.
Okay, any questions for Janelle?
Yeah, I've got to go on record. Appreciate the services provided by Wallach Summers and Haas. You're working with them as close as possible, you know, Janelle. So a lot of weight in what you say. But as I think through this, we've got to improve the processes here. In other words, the budget, the spend budget for the RDC was approved a month ago, and in my opinion, these contracts have to happen before the budget is approved. So while you've put dollars into the budget for services rendered for 2025, we have no idea how many hours are going to be billed to the city of Westfield or to the RDC, and I just feel like we need to tighten up the process better. And as the mayor is going to continue to use the zero-based budgeting process, which means you get things in on time, it's based on building a budget from the ground up, not based on prior year's expenses or prior year services. I think we need to implement that process as well. And now that contracts are coming in after the fact, and you're going to get another one or more in January, I think we need to tighten it up. So, I don't, in my opinion, I don't believe the RDC should be working separately from the budgeting process from the city. And he has been hell-bent on the zero-based budgeting process. So that's kind of my stance.
Can I have a moment to
Absolutely.
respond to that?
Absolutely.
So we have two things happening with the RDC from a spending standpoint. We have a spending plan which is sent to DLGF prior to December 1, which outlines our anticipated spending. And then we have appropriations which have been requested for 2025. And in February, Oscar, we submit for the budget itself. I'm gonna let Oscar provide some input on this as far as our reporting of our spending plan and our budget.
Thank you. For the record, Oscar Gutierrez, Municipal Advisor to the RDC. The spending plan is a planning document that can be modified. We intend to actually have a budget before you sometime in February or March. We have just received the settlements from the county. So before we can do a budget, we have to know what our beginning cash balance will be and what our projected revenues will be, which we did not have. We also don't have our tax rate yet from the state. So a few things have to happen before we can finalize a true budget. So I don't disagree with you, Commissioner, that the numbers on the spending plan should be relatively close to those in the budget, but the actual budget will come before you in end of the first quarter of next year. And I believe that the intent was that to get all these engagements prior to that, and they should still be relatively close to what was in the spending plan. At least we believe that while they haven't been approved, the estimates that we asked from all the vendors should reflect what is on the spending plan or not deviate far from that.
Are there opportunities to tighten up the process?
I think that the process is ongoing until we do the budget, which will be coming before you in February. So if you would like to see these engagements be done prior to the spending plan, it's a little bit early to be planning 2025, but I think most vendors would be willing to accommodate that. I can't speak for others, but.
Yeah, so I guess,
Yeah.
the question is, should the spending plan and the budget be a process that's done at the same time?
Yeah, I'm happy to request those earlier in the year next year so that we have them prior to the spending plan.
And
That's not a problem.
As Janelle mentioned earlier, that was the first year we had gone through it, so we just had to do our best effort. And I will say that the city of Westfield actually went through a real exercise of providing something meaningful, and we have seen a lot of communities that I would not say the same about.
Oscar, just to be clear, though, the budget can't be done until every entity has received their 1782 and the tax rate set, and we have a total rate to set.
Correct.
The RDC
Correct,
side.
because that will determine the amount of money that the RDC will collect via TIF, because that's,
So we can adjust the contract date, we can adjust to the spending plan, but realistically, the budget still can't be set until after really January 1st, when all the 1782s go out and there's a set tax rate for all entities.
yeah, so realistically, until the budget order is issued to the county, and that usually is mid to late January.
I think it's, John's raised a couple good points here. I would like to see and this is something we'd have to work out with Marla, I believe, and maybe you can help with that, Oscar, is have a running total of where we're at on some of the key items, legal expense, consulting fees, whatever, let's say the top 3 items that are most significant, and have a running total each month of where we're at against our budget once that is established, and see what that looks like. Understanding that if we have projects that come up and you get a half a dozen companies that come in and say, hey, we want to talk to you about opening up a facility in Westfield, all of that goes out the window because now you've got additional stuff on the table that you have to deal with, and there's nothing budgeted for that because you didn't expect it.
I think that's
So
reasonable.
that's just something I think we ought to have in the conversation and see how we want to handle that kind of a situation.
I would encourage you to look at the spending plan, because that will look the same way that the budget will look. So if you wanted to see more detail, we can either add it to that or we can track it separately. So that's.
I'd be willing to meet with, maybe John and I could meet with you privately and, work through some, as this
I would-
process gets revised.
Go
and-
through the executive director and.
Certainly with Janelle and whoever else needs to be in that discussion.
Yeah, we can certainly accommodate.
Yeah, and then one last item that was brought up earlier was around appropriations by state statute. There's no appropriations that have to be done for RDC funds because they're already restrictive in how they can be used and collected. So you don't have to go through the appropriation process, which the appropriation process is what dictates those encumbrances to be able to be spent in the future. So it's just the authority to spend RDC funds, and I have the attorney here, lies mainly within this body to make the approvals of spending the funds. So any unspent funds just goes into the beginning balance, and this is really run more like a business than government.
And my other concern with the agreement is the increase in rates. So the rate increases are anywhere from 10% to 28%. And I understand that happens, but I just have to be concerned about the dollars that the city is spending, the RDC and/or the city are spending. And I don't think anybody in this room who's still working is getting a 10 to 28% increase in pay. And that's what the rates represent here. So I just think we need to be fiscally responsible in the dollars that we're spending. So, thank you.
Any other questions for Janelle or for Oscar? If not, look for a motion for approval of the Wallach, Summers, and Haas engagement letter.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, Brian Pawlowski, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Larry Kemper. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. David?
Joe Plankus.
Aye.
John Dart.
No.
Brian Michael.
Aye.
Larry Kemper.
Aye.
Brian Pawlowski.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-1. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the 2025 Bondry Consulting Engagement Letter, which is a very nice presentation. Took me a while to get through it, Oscar. Okay, Janelle.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the 2025 engagement letter and proposal from Bondry to do municipal advisory services for the RDC. And I've spent quite a bit of time talking with Oscar. Rachel and I have both spent some time looking over the proposal, make sure that we understand the changes between 2024 and 2025. And we feel like this is a much more detailed proposal that outlines better how we're being billed moving forward, and we would ask for your approval of their services continuing in 2025.
Okay, questions for Janelle or Oscar in regards to the engagement letter?
I just have, I believe you sent out in the email that you were going to have Kelly just kind of check that it was in line with others. Did she do that? Is it?
I spoke with Kelly about that on Friday, and she indicated that she doesn't have experience with these specific rates to be able to provide that area of expertise. So we'll let Oscar respond directly.
Without putting my competitors' stuff on publicly, because I don't feel right, I'm happy to send you comparables, and I've done that for another RDC member to just show that we are within market or actually below.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Oscar, my concerns are the same. First of all, thank you for the detail. I mean, compared to the 2024 agreement, much more detailed than ever, so it's really laid out. But my concerns, again, are again, the process that we're utilizing. So I'm just trying to be consistent in the way I'm judging it, so.
Okay, other questions for Janelle or Oscar? If not, open for a motion for approval of the Bondry Consulting engagement letter.
Motion to approve.
Okay, Brian Pawlowski. I'll second that. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. David?
Joe Plankus.
Aye.
John Dart.
No.
Brian Michael.
Aye.
Larry Kemper.
Aye.
Brian Pawlowski.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-1. Thank you very much. Last item on the agenda is the Spec Dempsey contract addendum. Janelle?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a proposal for an addendum to the existing Spec Dempsey contract at Grand Park for the master plan. They also have Perkins and Will engaged under them to provide work on the master planning of Grand Park District, which includes all the land from Grand Park Event Center south to 186th Street, as well as a handful of parcels south of 186th Street on both the east and west sides of Grand Park Boulevard. As we've moved through the process here, it became apparent we had better definition of what we were going to be building north of 186th Street than what we had anticipated when we signed the original contract. As a result, what Jeff Speck, the principal of the firm, has recommended, and I agree that this is going to be beneficial to us, is to create what's called a regulating plan for the land that is north of 186th Street, which is not under the original contract. This will provide CAD plans that can be used by architects, engineers, planners that we engage locally to help us move from this master plan process into a true development plan for the district so that we can be that much closer to being ready to develop and bring in tenants within Grand Park. And really take this development to the next level. As it is mentioned in the proposal, they would have potentially been able to cover this under their original contract, looking at the hours that they've put in on the project. However, There were some additional services that we requested as a client, which they did not bill us for, which included more detailed analysis of some development plans within some specific blocks to be able to accommodate some tenants that were anticipating potentially moving to Grand Park. So I do believe that this additional services contract is very fair and will provide us great value.
Okay, any questions for Janelle? John?
No.
No? Just want to give you first opportunity.
I know.
Okay, if we have no further questions, I'm open for a motion for approval of the Spec Dempsey contract addendum.
Motion to approve.
Okay, Larry Kemper, motion approved.
Second.
Brian Tamamichael, thank you very much. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. David?
Joe Plinkus,
Aye.
John Dart,
Aye.
Brian Tamamichael,
Aye.
Larry Kemper,
Aye.
Brian Pulowski.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much. Any other business, Janelle, that we have for this evening?
There is no more business today.
Okay, our next regularly scheduled meeting will be for Tuesday, January 21st at 6 PM here at City Hall. So if there are no further items, meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Don't run away, guys. We got signatures.
Wanted to run.
Nice try, Brian.
Last time I didn't have to sign it, it was all the important people. Had like the bystanders.
So after this,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
done.
This is the like trophy for participation.
Does order matter?
Sign.